Good evening and welcome. That's our theme song tonight. And welcome to a Wednesday night edition of the Buddy Martin Show. Yes, we're still here. It's been a rough week for a lot of people, I know. Let me get all my gear set up here. We got a whole bunch of people who are all late tonight, so they got waylaid. So they'll be coming along shortly. And meanwhile, we'll just have a moment of grievance. Everybody I talked to this week has not gotten past what happened last Sunday night and won't forever. It's part of sports. It's the part that sticks inside your gut that you never forget about. And we can replay that again 1,000 times. That play, yes, Billy, yes, they wanted to call a timeout. They didn't get it done, and of course, that falls at the feet of Todd. It's his job. I don't know all the insides and outs, but Franz Beard will be along in just a moment. He's going to drop in because some of our guests will be late getting here at night. Shout out to Peek Wilbur. We'll get her back on the program tonight. It's been a while. She's been a busy lady, and she's been knocking it out the park lately. With some of the, if you haven't seen her interviews, she's got these assistant coaches on, and they are really. I've learned a whole bunch of things by listening to her interviews, which I think is a master class in interviewing. France will be here in a minute. We'll talk about it, but we got kind of frozen out of these coaches after having most of my good information over the years has come from assistant coaches, and we had open access. So when Spurrier was the head coach, I had a coach, assistant coaches show, had them all on, but they've been a little bit difficult to get lately, and so Ali's done a wonderful job. Her interviews with the strength and conditioning coach. Learned a lot about that, didn't know. And, of course, I knew her specialty, the special teams coach. And I listened to all of it, and I learned. And I tell you what, that's what we want. All we want, Franz Beard, is just a little dialogue, the chance to talk to people, and that's what we do. And I'm not sure you had a chance to talk to them lately, but I got to tell you that, there's an art to an interview. You just don't show up and start asking questions. You actually do have to do some work. And she obviously did that, and it showed up in her work. So let's see if we can bring France aboard here. Why are you dodging me, France? All right, let's try it. There he is right there. What's up, Francis?
Just cooking and going through stuff. I found about maybe 5,000 or 6,000 photos that I didn't even know that I had.
Oh my gosh!
I knew there were somewhere, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
Know where.
That's a problem after your guys like
this
that.
Photo, my grandfather as Gainesville's first motorcycle cop.
Really?
Yes, he was.
That's great. You ought to have them all scanned.
Well, we're gonna have to do that because I've just got. And I'm only in the first big tub. I may have more.
Oh
than
man,
that.
you need
somewhere. I got pictures that he took of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig playing in Gainesville, where Norman Hall used to be the baseball park before they moved to Perry Field. And my grandfather had pictures of the Yankees playing with Gehrig and Ruth and Bill Dickey and Tony Lazzeri and guys like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just history you can't get anywhere else. Folks, if you want to know all about history, Francis got it right here. They made a little bit of history that you don't want to have last Sunday night. You and I have talked about this. I've kind of put it away. I know you've been really tired and resting up, and I appreciate all the great work you did. But I know that people ask you the same questions times 1,000 they do me every time I talk to somebody. What happened? What happened? What happened? And, basketball happened. And I feel badly for a couple guys who are going to get blamed for the loss. But once again, you said it clearly the other night what happened. And let's just get one more time to talk about the fact they wanted to foul. Boogie couldn't get the foul done or couldn't defend his man. The one thing that they didn't want to have was a three-point shot. And the guy got one and made it. And as we talked about, if they just would have fouled and even they made two foul shots, Florida's got the ball back with the end of the game. Anyway, just give me your final thoughts, and we'll move on to something else.
Well, two things went wrong. One of them was obviously they didn't get the foul, and they end up with essentially what amounts to a 3-on-2 fast break, and you've only got two defenders. The point guard, Tommy Hawk, did what he's supposed to do, which is cut off the point guard, and the point guard makes the pass into the corner. And they had two shooters in the corners, and this guy made the shot. I understand why you want to foul somebody. I understand why you want to put pressure on them as well. I don't know that I would have lined it up like that, but that's me. I've seen too many coaches in similar situations either go with the diamond in one press or a 2-2-1, but you always have guys at different layers, and you got one guy as a safety back there. And so, in retrospect, I think everybody's going to have a plan why the defensive play didn't work. Offensively, I guarantee you, Xavier Lee could kick himself for not going ahead and taking the shot.
Yeah.
The other thing that we did not do, which we should have done, we should have had a shooter for a trailer. The old Dean Smith trick. He always had his inbounds guy in late game situations or things like that. His inbounds guy was a great shooter from top of the key to say about 12 feet in. And he did not have a trailer coming in who would have made it possible because everybody collapsed. And here's why the trailer works. As soon as the guy starts bouncing the ball, all the defenders turn their backs on him, and your trailer's the last guy there. And if you can get the ball to him, he usually has an open shot. So we didn't have a trailer. We didn't have that. So, but you know something, buddy, it's so easy to say that it came down to, a bad defensive play or a missed shot there. It should not have been close.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been.
It should not have been. Florida should have won that ball game by 10 points or more. Bad day at the office. I had a conversation today with somebody, and the thing that stuck in my mind was, I think the pressure finally got to these guys. I think these guys, as much as they didn't want to admit it, the pressure was there all year to repeat as national champions. Yeah. And I think that's gotten to, you look at it, 8 of the last 9 years, the team that won last year did not make it past the first weekend. And I think it's always for the same reason, which is that the pressure is there. We expect 18, 19, 20-year-old kids to play like the guys in the NBA, and it just doesn't happen. I told somebody today, they said, well, what about last year's team? I said, last year's team, the team, I guarantee you, Walter or Elijah Martin or Will Richard would have stolen the inbounds pass and dunked it, and the game would have been over.
Yeah.
But that's because those guys were seasoned pros in these situations. I think Florida was hurt by the fact we had so many blowout wins that when we finally got into a really close ball game, you had guys that were maybe a little bit tight, maybe didn't anticipate this, and stuff happens. I hate to say it, but stuff happens. As it stands, we're 27-8. We're the SEC champions. For much of the year, people thought we were the best team in the country. We're going to be good again next year. Todd Golden is going to be
what's going to happen? You wrote about the Todd Golden contract and all that stuff, and the fact there's no way he gets away.
I hate to say it, but stuff happens.
Tell me, that's you repeating yourself. So tell me about it. Who's coming back? Who's not? I was a little surprised that Boogie said he said personally he's going to the portal.
I haven't seen that he's in the portal yet.
I said that he may have changed his mind, but he wrote it. He definitely wrote it.
Well, so far he's not in the portal. Okay.
That's good.
But if he does, if he elects to go, he's got work to do. There are some outstanding point guards out there. My goodness, I'm looking right now at a list of that includes the point guard from Santa Clara, Christian Hammond, is a 39.3% 3-point shooter, 6'4", 195 pounds, a really outstanding ball player.
Wow.
I'm looking at this kid from AJ Bates from Louisiana Tech, of all places. Average 5.9 assists per game. He's not a good 3-point shooter. Don't like that about him, but he's really, really good. There's a kid from Portland who is a freshman named Joel Foxwell, and this is a guy that I'm liking more and more the more I see him. Average 6.5 assists a game, 15.6.
But we're looking at breaking up that old gang of mine, aren't we?
Well, we're going to bring in.
Chinyalu was going to come back, probably. Maybe Condon.
If Condon doesn't go first round, he's coming back. I firmly believe that. Chinyalu will make more money at Florida as a second rounder, and he's not going to be a first rounder. I mean, I love the way he rebounds. I love the ferociousness he plays with defense. But here's the thing. He's got to learn to shoot a jump shot. He's got to develop a power dunk move. Instead of going up and doing that little flip shot, he's got to learn to go up there and put the guy who's defending him in the basket along with the ball on a dunk.
Yeah.
And he can get that done this year. Those are learnable skills. He's got to be, I think he's got to learn to be a little less emotional on the court as well.
Yeah. Francois, you answer that. I want you to think about interviews and the skill of interviews and how you learn to interview people, and tell this young person here how absolutely brilliant she was in the 2 interviews she did with the assistant coaches. I mean, it was riveting, man. I'm telling you, both the outfit, the special teams coach, who's your favorite, and of course, strength conditioning coach, Rusty Whitt and Jonathan Galante. And man, I'm telling you, I couldn't stop listening. Great job, Ali.
Thank you so much. They were really easy to have a conversation with, very personable and just, I don't know, relatable.
Well, let me tell you this, and I'm not trying to fluff your feathers. You are network quality, and I mean that. Somebody on, I looked at some of these people who are the sideline reporters and so forth, like that are. I don't even want to say the words I want to say. You're better than 98% of them. You got Aaron Andrews and Laura Rutledge qualities to you as an interviewer, and you're poised and really good at it. So
I let her accept that glowing comment, and I think you're right. I agree with you on that. But I want to say that what makes her so good is that, and again, I will stop bragging about her because I can see her head getting bigger on the screen right now, and Eric's going to kill me for making her. No, I want to kid. I just think that, if I could say, aside from working hard, this is a mother of 5 children, okay, and 6 if you count Eric, and she finds the time to not only do these interviews, but she seeks them out. And friends, how hard it is just to get the people. I mean, I was saying a while ago, it's amazing. I did a show every week with the assistant coaches when Spurrier was coach. And in recent years, they've shut us. They've clammed up. We don't get to talk to the assistant coaches. I mean, and she has ferreted out those people. Good word, ferreted. And she's got them to sit down. And one thing she does is she prepares. That's the key, in my opinion, that people don't understand. You just don't walk in there cold and turn. I know Larry King did it. He didn't like it. But I'm telling you, the interview, she was so set up and so smooth, especially on subjects like this. She was talking, it's a master class on special teams. I just said, listen, my gosh. And we got into the subject, and he knew even that Eric was the one who had to fake punt in the Arkansas game. France and I were sitting there that night.
He had done his research, which I thought was kind of neat.
Well, it shows respect for you.
And I think those teams too, he talked about how they've shown that the 08 and the 06 team special teams footage to the team and said, like, this is what we want to be like. And, I think that shows a lot of respect to where Florida has been and, where they want to go in the future. And, this staff's going to have to win, right? But they're saying all the right things right now. I really want them to win because I think that they are a group of guys that have been incredibly accessible to us. They seem very down to earth and real. These are people I'd go have a drink with or go out to dinner with or something like that because they just seem so normal and humble.
But you know what? And Franz, feel free to jump in. Now you got to go back to what you're doing, Franz. Appreciate you coming on here at last minute notice. But here's the thing. These are smart people. Mm-hmm. That's what struck me. Listen, they're smart. Mm-hmm. And they started talking about it, and you talked their language about what was surreal about Arkansas was they were in a zone where you didn't try that. And I think they said that's where you don't do that formational punt formation with the gunners. Mm-hmm. And they did it, and nobody expected. And it was a brilliant call, and because it worked.
Yeah, because it worked. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And so, and I'll let Franz jump in, but about things you talked about, and you had a really good discussion about. Did you know, Franz, they now can predict whether or not you're going to have bad knees? According to the strength of Rusty Whitt says, they have a thing there where they can sort of forecast if you're going to have an issue.
Where were they? Where were they 50 years ago when I needed them?
Exactly. Right now, what he said.
That was fascinating. He was like, we can tell when a hamstring injury is coming on, and like that's astounding to me. That was not anything that I knew that we had the technology to do. And it seems like he is just such a good mix of old school and cutting edge science, and that's kind of a neat conversation to have.
It helps that he's at the university that has that all the Olympians, mm-hmm. winter or summer, they come here, and this is their headquarters for anything medical.
Good point.
It kind of helps that. Good point. Guys, I got to run.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Franz. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Take care. Franz Beard. You can read him on GatorBaitMedia.com. All right. Ali, what did you learn?
I feel like I learned a few different things. One, I thought it was interesting. Our entire coaching staff's approach seems to not have anything to do with breaking a guy down before you build him back up, which I thought was interesting because I do think that's the basis of a lot of like rebuilds is, okay, well, we got to level it, build them down, build them back up, or knock them down, build them back up the way that we want them to be. And I thought it was interesting that Whitt especially was like, no, we don't want to crush their confidence. We want to build their confidence. And that's what makes reliable players, is because they believe in themselves. And I thought that was interesting. And I did feel like that kind of carried over to special teams too. When I asked Galante about like, well, what do you do if a punter or kicker gets in their own head? Because they do. And, I think sometimes asking the special teams coach to deal with that is kind of like asking a manager in baseball to be the pitching coach. It's just because you're the special teams coach doesn't mean you have any idea how the kickers and punters are wired and they work. It's different than designing a scheme, right? And he talked about putting together video montages of all of their successes and reminding them about what they're good at and how they have performed over their career, not just in whatever hard moment they're in. And I thought that was interesting. The fact that they know exactly who is responsible for getting the right number of guys on the field on the sidelines is always nice to hear as well. And Galante said, all of us are responsible, and never once said player was responsible. He said all of them were responsible, and that Coach Whitt has, a clipboard with a depth chart every single week, and he's standing there and counting. And that was important for me to hear because that's the norm. That's what every other team outside of Napier that I've been familiar with at UF has done. That's what, happens every Saturday across the country. It's an oddity to have players responsible for getting themselves out on the field, but that's what we've had the last 4 years. So I think knowing we're getting something different there and knowing that was kind of special teams was our Achilles heel at times, it cost us some games. So it seems like that ship at least has been righted.
Yeah, I'm going to get Scott Carter on here in a second. We're going to talk about these assistant coaches. They're very connected.
Mm-hmm.
They're very connected, and they're not in a way where they're trying to outdo each other.
Yeah,
they seem like it's clear that the head coach wants the best players to play on special teams because Galante's got his choice.
Yeah,
and they do, like you said. He also said he loved having it first period as opposed to last period. You get the best of it.
Yeah, and Urban had it first period, so love to hear that, because that's the gold standard for special teams at Florida. And honestly, Ron Zook had great special teams too. Steve Spurrier had great special teams. So I know sometimes we like to, Urban, I put Urban up there with Frank Beamer in terms of.
Yeah, he was one of the elite.
He just,
you know how he wound up getting it?
How? Oh, he did it at Notre Dame, right?
He actually did. He was, he was working for.
He was somewhere as like an assistant wide receivers coach, and they were like, "You're special teams too," and he didn't want to at first, right?
Well, no, I think they just made him. It was the coach at Louisiana Tech. It was who's that? Come on, buddy. Think about it. Anyway, he just made Urban the special teams coach.
Yeah.
And Urban had to go learn it.
Yeah.
And he went in there like everything else Urban does. He's an academic in that regard. He really gets into it.
Yeah.
He studied the best of what they did, and he put his efforts into it. And it became the signature of the guys who want to get on the field. If you want to get on the field, learn to play special teams.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys did that, made your bones by going on. So
yeah, David Nelson's a great example of that.
David Nelson was it. Wrote reams about him when he finally, after they lost Ole Miss and their season went up in smoke, and he went to Urban's office and said, I want to do whatever I can.
Yeah.
So I want to do whatever I can do, if that means special teams, and I'm ready. He did. He got on the field and he made huge plays in the championship run. So
and we need to see that again. But the attitude towards special teams comes from the top down. And if the top doesn't find them important, your best players will not want to have anything to do with special teams. And if your head coach puts value on special teams, your starting guys will fight over getting to play special teams. So it is a top down thing. And I know that the previous regime didn't put the emphasis on special teams that 1/3 of the game deserves.
Yeah, but sure. Scott stepped away from his curious. And I want to bring him in now because I want to talk about the defensive coordinator, Brad White. I didn't do a deep dive. I did kind of a shallow dive. Scott did a great job of going up and getting him and talking to him about. He's an interesting guy, and when you think about it, he was the guy, and I got the stats in my story online now about how he shut down Florida and Kentucky. Scott, you got him there in front of you. Good evening to you. I think 5 out of 8 seasons or something. He shut him down, and now
he was there. They did beat 4 to 5 times during his stint there. He was working the defense under Mark Stoops. We all know what kind of job he did at Kentucky, kind of establishing some toughness with that program. And I think we saw it play out at the last couple of times, at least the Gators were in Lexington. A couple of tough losses. But Brad White, you look at his background, he was a player, played at Wake Forest. One of these overachieving players, but had a good college career after bouncing around. I can't remember where he started. It's off the top of my head, but he transferred into Wake Forest. Actually walked on at Georgia. Now my memory's going. He walked on at Georgia and realized that, after a year there, maybe I should try to play. That's how he ended up at Wake Forest. But the guy coached in the NFL 6 years, buddy, with the Colts. He's seen it at the highest level. He's done it in college, and obviously he's really well respected in the coaching fraternity because, John Summerall, that was one of the first guys he hired, and they had a little overlap at Kentucky. They had a lot of common acquaintances. So, I'll be interested to see what it looks like. He's implementing a different system, but I like what they're talking about this spring, this toughness. Even Summerall yesterday during his press conference, he said, look, you can't have a great defense with any weak link. And he said that he wants all 11 guys to be ready for that confrontation when called upon. And I don't know if we can say that about some most recent defenses.
Yeah.
You have to have guys who don't want to shy away from it. And, that's why they're special players. I mean, we've seen them at Florida over the years, whether it's Reggie Nelson or Matt Elam or tons of guys. They're different. And Florida has lacked that a little bit in recent years. So I think that's what they're trying to really do defensively this spring, buddy.
Yeah, Scott and Ali, we don't have to make any mincing words. If you could go back the last 8 or 10 years and get one stop in some games, how many more games would Florida have won? It was always a 1 stop, 2 stops away. Couldn't stop anybody. And like I wrote in my column, no, they did not stop him. And the other team got the ball, went on a 12-play drive and whatever, and that killed him. They couldn't stop anybody. And the thing about him is that he's so flexible. In your piece that you wrote today for FloridaGators.com, he talked about being in the military, his dad being in the military. He said, I was born in Massachusetts, did 3 years in Wyoming, 3 in Germany, and we settled in Rhode Island. So he's been around. So he's flexible. But he looks like a guy who has a lot of stability to him. And after reading and not doing a deep dive, but doing a media dive, I like this guy. We haven't talked much about the defense, Ali. We talk mostly about the offense,
Yeah, and I think the defense, honestly, is that's Summerall's bag too, right? And so I have to think that there's actually going to be a lot of growth there. Think about the amount of experience that you've got on that side of the ball, coaching wise, and a couple add Chapman in there with White and Summerall, like you. I mean, that's years and years of experience there. But Summerall said something really interesting in the Josh Pate interview that really stuck with me, where they asked about all of the guys with coordinator experience on his staff. And he talked about how he wants to be surrounded by people that are going to question him and that are going to make him better. And that he doesn't want to be in a room of yes men, and that the more coordinators, the more experience, the better, so that they can challenge each other. And I think most football coaches have big egos, right? And so the idea of being told that you might be wrong about something doesn't sit well with lots of them. And so I think it's so refreshing to hear them talk about wanting experience in the room, wanting to be questioned, not wanting yes men. Like, we're not used to that, at least not recently anyway. So I'm excited. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the defense comes along. I feel like we've got really great top end pieces and then a lot of question marks. And so this coaching, this development is going to be make or break for this season, I think.
There's a lot of ball left now. The spring, and then you got the summer workouts, and you got the fall practices. Like somebody pointed out today, quarterback can change a lot between now and then, for instance. I know they got some guys on defense they really like a lot, obviously, Aaron Childs, etc. But I just wanted to say that I have, and I'm not there. Scott is. You and I are not there. But I just have a feeling when you walk the halls, there's a different feeling about what it used to be. It seemed like before it was like a Disney World, or let's don't say anything if I upset somebody, or, Billy. I mean, look, I hate to say this about Billy, but he screwed up. Okay. He really screwed things up just by what we see the comments today talking about Lagway. If you saw his remarks, whatever. So that didn't work at all. And apparently Lagway didn't have any classes, according to what I'm reading. But my point is that
I think they were online. He didn't have any classes.
I know. But that you can't. And he made a comment about what it's like to be in class at Baylor. Hello, go to class, man. Come on, you ain't no superstar. Then go to class. Anyway, my point being that the quality of these three guys we talked about. Ali, you did a great job on the interviews. They were just fantastic. Folks, if you haven't seen them, go to her. Where can I see them? And
on YouTube, you can go to a Peek Inside Gator Football.
Peek Inside Gator Football. Okay, well, I should know that, and it's really worthwhile. You talk about two guys, the depth that she was drawing. Scott, if you haven't seen it, you ought to do it. The depth she was able to draw out of these guys and the sophistication of the comments, that's to her credit, because she knows the hell out of special teams, and she asked him questions, and he said, that's the greatest question I've ever had been asked on special teams, right? That's what he said one time. It's the greatest question I've ever had asked on special teams. So you can learn a lot. I did, an old dog like me, and I thought it was fabulous.
I've had to listen to conversations about scheme for 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay. This is like, this conversation happens 5 times a week in this house. So if I couldn't ask him, there actually might be something wrong, because I've been sometimes against my will forced to participate in these ad nauseum. Yeah.
Well, talk about some of the things that you learned again. And Scott, share with us a little bit more about White. He's an interesting guy. I'm becoming a Brad White fan without even knowing him yet. But search you, Ali. Talk about the other things. Do you feel like you have a much better grasp on this team now?
Yeah, I think I have a much better understanding of what goes on in the strength and conditioning program. I love the data and the science that's being used to tweak each player to what they need. And the injury prevention, when I started diving into the injury reports for Tulane the last 2 years,
you've had those stats. You whipped out those stats on him, man.
Most games, they had no one on the injury report. Yeah. They had one lineman miss one game the entire season.
I know. That was amazing. You were able to pull that out.
Wild. And, he said, and I've heard him say this in other interviews, but that, when Summerall got hired at Troy, he told him basically, you got 20 minutes to sell me on why you should keep your job. Mm-hmm. And he said that the first thing he said to him was, my greatest ability is availability. And it basically, I will keep your players healthy. They will be able to go. And his stats back that up, because you can even go back even further and look at the depth charts from Troy, and they are similar to the depth charts, injury reports for Tulane. And you think about Florida had, double-digit players on the injury report more weeks than not the last couple of years. And I do think luck plays in there somewhere, right? Like, they're just, sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. Sometimes you end up hurt. But I do think strength and conditioning plays a huge role in that. And so I'll be really interested to see the difference. Now, the SEC is a whole different beast. So staying healthy in that is a little bit different than staying healthy in maybe a lesser conference. But I think that their approach to that is huge. Listening to the Gauntlet, which we've heard him talk about a lot, but just the time is the time. The exercises are the exercises. You either get it or you don't get it. And it sounds like this team took the longest to get it of any of the teams that they've had do it, which is
also a real thing, as we found out. And you said,
so that means
5th time, 6th time, 7th time,
did it first, did it faster than our guys at Florida. If that tells you anything about where the toughness of this locker room was, when they started doing this. So I find that interesting. The special team stuff is always really interesting to me. Seems like they are going to be pretty analytical about the way they look at it. They said more traditional formations as opposed to, like spread, like Urban ran. It seems like they're going to work maybe 4 or 5 fake punts up so that they know them really well and relay them or use them if they feel comfortable in the right situation. Eric says that for Urban, they'd have 4 or 5 a week, and it would be completely dependent on the opponent. And that they would, on Sunday, basically, Urban would look at weaknesses of their opponent and specifically scheme fakes and blocks and things like that based on exactly what they saw in the film. Seems like this staff's going to do it a little bit differently. Seems like they're going to have more like a few fake packages that they practice all the way through. So that'll be interesting to see what is successful versus not. And, not everybody is a special teams savant like Urban is. And so we can't expect everybody to be willing to put 15 hours into scheming up fakes, each week for your new opponents.
Well, he loves his special. He loves his trick plays. And he told me one time in writing one of the books, he made it a point every game plan to put one in somewhere. Mm-hmm. Have something on your call sheet, like the fake punt.
Yeah. Eric said sure they never unsuccessfully ran one. But he said we'd run it so many times in practice that we literally couldn't not do it correctly, and so it would just work every single.
What did you say? Run it till you don't, till you
it's
get
not,
it wrong.
It's not that you practice it till you can do it. You practice it till you can't get it wrong, and that was always his attitude towards it. But I just thought they were both fascinating and very open and really giving of their time.
Yeah, Scott, there's a little bit of excitement about what's happening Friday, although I looked into it further, and Urban and John Gruden are not coming there just for that. They're coming to the coaching clinic. But apparently there's some indication, and I chit-chatted with Urban a little bit, that they're going to talk to the team. This team seems to be excited with Urban Meyer, Scott. They really do like him.
Yeah, ever since Summerall talked about, during the hiring process, when he talked to Urban and, giving that anecdote about, he felt like he was talking to himself a little bit. I just think they bonded. And Urban, it'll be interesting. Maybe he'll talk special teams at the clinic, guys. Maybe you guys should come up and listen to that. I'm sure he will.
We'll rely on you to handle it because you do it so well.
Yeah, I'm sure they will definitely be talking about some special teams. And Gruden and Liam Cohen are here too. They're coming. So
I mentioned Liam Cohen. I forgot about him. But he has a thing. He and John have a little deal going. They're fans of each other, right?
Yeah, they worked together at some point back in the background. Obviously, Cohen was at Kentucky a little while too. So, it's a good group. And I, just with the Urban factor, it is interesting to see him be more engaged now than I think at any point since he left Florida. Obviously, he was coaching for several years, but the last 4 or 5 years, he's slowly kind of been brought back in. But I just think, coaches, man, they connect. If they connect and have some common traits, I mean, they've got a lot to discuss. I mean, Urban knows everything that Summerall is experiencing right now. He knows the expectations, and he did it at the highest level. So if I'm John Summerall, I'm picking Urban Meyer's brain as much as I can. And, that's a good resource.
I'm sure he will be doing that. Yeah, for sure. Ali, I've kept you longer than I intended to, but thank you. I'm going to let you go. Scott, can you hang with us for another minute? Great job again. I'm going to recommend, truly, I mean this, that's a masterclass on interviewing. You have young people, especially young women, who need to watch that and learn about how to interview a subject. I know one thing, I'm not nearly in your league at this. I know this thing. If you let them know up front, you know what you're talking about, that you've done some work, they'll go, wow. And they'll respond as you prove that. They say, wow, that's the greatest question I've ever heard. So do your homework, right?
You always do your homework. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali. Great job. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Week. See ya.
Thank you. All right, Scott, I'm going to do the commercial. We got our guy Rob is waiting in the wings to chat with us and talk a little more about I want to talk to you about a few other things like baseball, the struggling, but we've had some great things happen lately too. Certainly the gymnastics team, a lot of good stuff happened, man, amazing things. So let me do this commercial real fast. I'll bring in Rob Brown. I want to tell folks about our tremendous sponsor. I mean that. I say tremendous. He's been a loyal sponsor. He's also a loyal Gator. As you know, Meldon Law is the only official law firm associated with the University of Florida. They do many, many great things. There will never be another promotion as good as one they did with the replicas of the championship rings in basketball, where 10,000 people came to a game and got a replica ring forever. And boy, I tell you, you see now how much those things are worth. You see now how much championships, how rare they are. Well, you know that now, right? So check them out. They got 4 locations to serve you here in North Central Florida, one now in South Florida. They're growing all the time. Good people, good Gators. Meldon Law, they won't back down. All right, so this guy ought to be a Gator. He talks about them all the time. He's mad about them losing the basketball game. He's still ticked off about it.
Well, yeah, because the SEC, the brand is being pushed around, and that is exactly what's happened. But I heard y'all talking about Florida, and that's another thing. you look at some of these other programs in the SEC that have had success, while Florida and Auburn have been on the side of the road with 4 bald tires and no gas. As Florida and Auburn reemerge, and it'll happen, there's going to be a shifting. It's like a game of musical chairs, but there's going to be movement. But I keep saying this, John Sumrall, I'm just texting with his good friend that knows him so well just now. There are 3 things that you got to do. And we had Ellis Johnson and Pete Cordelli on the show yesterday talking about vertical integration, they call it. Number 1, identified as a player having the athletic ability. Number 2, cognitive ability. How smart, how intelligent are they? Number 3, toughness. Okay. Well, not everybody's going to have great athletes, and not every athlete you get is going to be great, but you can instill toughness. But you can identify that if you recruit properly. So I think John Sumrall is changing the way Florida is going to recruit. And I say this all the time. 23 million people in this state, a lot of transients, a lot of people that live in Bradenton and Naples and Johns Island. I know 2 families from where I'm from that have compounds on Johns Island. Their money goes to UVA, Duke, Alabama, Auburn, and Tennessee. And so there's a lot of that in Florida. Florida needs to go hire a money manager to come work with Florida, the collective, because there's a lot of money out there. But I just have never understood how Florida doesn't dominate. They dominate in everything. There's only one sport that hadn't won a championship in. That's women's basketball. It looks like they got them a really good coach.
They did. I want to get Scott to talk about that. And if you will, Scott, go down the list of things that got the softball teams going. They're up to like number 3 in the country now. Go over that list of things you can remember, how overall at a time when people are moaning and groaning about basketball and understand how bad that hurts, there are so many good things happening in the Gator Sports Program.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the women's basketball coach, Tammy Reese. You guys probably saw her introductory press conference yesterday, and I'd spoken to her the day before just to forget kind of her introductory story. And right away, you can tell she's got a very engaging personality. A little bit like Sumrall. I was telling somebody, I can't think of right now at any time in Florida Gators history with Sumrall, Golden, and now Tammy Reese, the basketball and the football coach. I mean, those are 3 great interviews right there. And, so if they've obviously connected with fans, Sumrall and Golden. I mean, Golden's done it for 4 years now. Sumrall's winning every off-season event he's attended. I was joking with him yesterday. I asked him how many photos he actually took during that basketball game the other night in Tampa. And he said, man, they just kept coming and coming. He said it was hundreds. And he didn't expect it to be like that. That just shows you how he's been received by the fan base.
People taking photographs of him, you mean, not him taking photos, right?
Yeah, he was at the game court.
Yeah.
And he said the line was all the way up the stands. He had to ask.
You're just selfish. That's great. It's definitely. I mean, it's here's the thing about it, Rob. This says to Gator fans, he's one of us. It's a totally different, and I hate to keep bringing the guy's name up, but it's all I have to compare it to than the last coach. It's a totally different thing. It's like, don't go off and hide someplace. Get out there among the people and be one of them, And he's done amazing. What else are you? They got the track team. They got talk about the other accomplishments. The baseball team is struggling right
now. Baseball beat FSU last night over in Jacksonville, so that's always the fans always enjoy that. They went up to and got swept at Alabama over the weekend. Got no hit first time since
no hit. That was a painful.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to give credit to Alabama pitcher. I mean, he pitched a tremendous game. So their offense has been slumping. They won 5-0 last night. They're back home this weekend. I mean, they're 20-6. So I think it's still early in the season, about midway point. Still early in the SEC season. So I think they're going to be pretty solid. I mean, they're going to go through ups and downs, but I think they can compete. And I'll be shocked if they're not in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, softball you mentioned, buddy. I mean, that team, softball is one of those sports where they start and about 3 weeks later you realize they played 33 games. I'm like, holy cow, how'd that happen? So, but I think they've only they just beat Tennessee 2 out of 3. Tennessee's
2 out of 3, number 1 team.
Yeah. So I mean, they're playing well, and You mentioned gymnastics winning the SEC championship last
all-time
weekend.
score.
Yeah, it pulled it out. And, if you win the SEC championship in gymnastics, when you beat Oklahoma,
LSU,
that means you can win the national championship.
Yeah.
And that's their goal. So now they're in the postseason. They're off this week, but then they resume regionals and then the finals. So, a lot going on, guys. And, it was a tough week, after the Gators basketball team lost. That was a tough loss. But there's still a lot going on. I think the fans kind of connect to pretty quickly.
Rob was always one talking about on his show, Sidelines. If you haven't heard it, be sure to do so. In the mornings, it's one of the best shows around in college sports, especially the SEC. Well-informed guests. They have really good stuff. You should check them out. But Florida has, and you know this, Scott, I don't know the exact number, but over 500,000 alumni active. That's huge. And, that's the big 800-pound gorilla that sleeps wherever he wants to. And they can ever unify them. Rob, you talk about all the time, the power they can have, right?
It's true. And, 500,000 living alumni. I think Brendan's identified 6.5 million people part of, the Gator fan base. And it's not Naples. It's not Miami. It's not South Beach. It's Florida fans are just like fans at Georgia and Mississippi State and Ole Miss and Arkansas, Oklahoma. Most of them are from small towns in Florida. They are as gung-ho and loyal as it gets. But I want to go back to Charlie Pell. I remember when Charlie Pell came in 1979 from Clemson. That first year wasn't good, 10-1, but the next year they went 8-4, beat Maryland 35-23 in the Citrus Bowl. And of the 22 starters, 11 of them had been high school quarterbacks. One of them was Wayne Peace. That was the greatest turnaround at that time in college football history. And, go back, Billy Napier. And I said it, and I didn't want to be, Debbie Downer. But I watched him, and I'm like, he may have won 41 games at Louisiana, but he's low energy. And you can't be low energy, not at Florida, when you have personalities like Steve Spurrier who were there. And, damn, he made it fun. He made people that weren't Florida fans watch Florida play football because, it was just exciting. He forced the SEC out of its comfort zone. And Summerall's got that raspy voice. Looks like he could still suit up and play. Who has a better story than a guy's drinking a cold road soda down on the panhandle of Florida and gets an opportunity to come back into coaching? But then the other one is continuity of success. Tulane, before that, Troy. He's won everywhere he's been. Portability of winning. Now, I said, Billy Napier won a lot at Louisiana. But I should have stuck to what I thought. God, this guy's maybe a nice guy, maybe he's a good football coach. He's low energy. You got to be like Summerall. Summerall, cognitive, that's part of it. Athletic ability, that's huge. But the toughness, you're not going to have a problem being tough. Go back to Urban Meyer. Everybody should watch Swamp Kings. Everybody that loves football. Say what you want. That's how I was brought up. And that's the way I haven't changed. That's what I love in a coach. I don't know Urban Meyer. Y'all do. But alpha male culture wins in college football. There's no other way. Betas lose every time.
All right, switching the subject for the last 5 minutes or so. Relationships now with players are changing. And no matter who you are, you have to deal with the transfer portal. It's a reality. A lot of broken dreams out there. We talk about who's gone, who's there. I want to say disappointed. That's not the right word. I guess it is the right word. And the comments that came out of DJ Lagway, yet I understand part of it, talking about how he felt out of place here. He told Matt Hayes, he said, that he felt like he was isolated. And in the first practice, you guys read this, Baylor fans apparently just ripped into Lagway because he struggled with throwing the ball well. And there were just all kind of negative comments about this. And the fact that it's coming out now. Some things are going to come out that, he probably wasn't happy. I don't know how it was handled, but I'm a little disappointed we have to revisit this. Now, what about you, Todd? Todd. I'm sorry. What about you, Scott. What's your name? Wait, hold it. Scott Carter. How about you, Scott?
I think Buddy had a road soda here before the show, man.
I need one. I need one.
Yeah. Man, I knew something would eventually come out with the DJ camp, and I didn't expect it maybe so soon. I thought maybe he'd get settled a little bit more out there. But when I read that story today and read what it said, I mean, my first initial reaction was, and I tweeted this, I was like, his PR team's working too hard, man. Give the kid a little air. Let him go out there and practice and just be a college student a little while. And unfortunately, I mean, DJ, if you've been around him, he's a quite nice kid. But I think his team kind of directs him a lot, and it certainly worked financially for him. So I can't begrudge that. I mean, he's got more money than I do. But having said that, I think long term, he's at a crossroads here. He can easily be pretty forgotten about if this thing keeps going sideways in 2 or 3 years. I mean, he does have a lot of talent, but I think he needs to grow up some. And I don't know if the people around him are letting him grow up the way he needs to right now. This doesn't help him any today. I mean, this story. No, it's like, okay, I was in Florida. I'm driving a Lamborghini and a Mercedes, but I'm lonely. I'm living off campus by myself. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear that stuff, man. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, Rob.
That's Mr. Krabs with the world's smallest violin right there. I mean, buddy, I want to hear some of your war stories about 30-hour flights, missing flights, covering games, deadlines. All true grit journalists, the best guest you'll ever have on a show because you live it. And Brendan, when we started this network channel, about sidelines, he said, drill down local. You can't get better than what y'all just said. And y'all see it every day. But, man, I do want to see Florida come back. I think you're going to see a seismic shift. I don't know if Florida's going to win 10 games. I blew it last year. I did. I thought they'd win 8 the year before, but I blew it last year. But you got the right coach. And man, you can go talk to Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, tap into their brains. That's huge. But I just say that the toughness part, mental toughness. And for DJ Lagway, look, you know what? They better be careful. Paul Feinbaum today, they were talking about with Stuart Mandel. NASCAR lost a lot of their fans. College football better be very careful that a guy like me who grew up memorizing rosters from end to end. Pat Sullivan's your quarterback, Terry Beasley from Robert E. Lee High School in Montgomery, Dick Schmaltz, Robbie Robinette, Alvin Bressler, Bob Brown, Jack Elam,
Tucker Frederson.
I knew them all. Hollywood, Florida. Father was a veterinarian, and the Gators, Wayne Peace. You think about this. Florida, John L. Williams, Palatka, Florida, Neil Anderson, Graceview, Florida, Lorenzo Hampton, Miami, Florida. You think about that. I've been following Florida a long time. We are passionate about it. Buddy, you've got the enthusiasm of a 20-year-old kid. And that's something. I'm just saying, I'm so fired up about this stuff. College football is going to survive, but we do need to get the fans to feel like, hey, man, these guys love their school like we love our school. That's what we love about it. Buddy, you always said, who owns college football? The fans.
I don't know anymore.
I'm wired up.
I wish that was true, but final minute apiece. I guess you got to revisit the national championship. Somebody pointed out today, you can't say they won a Final Four. You don't win a Final Four. You win a championship game. But the point is, who do you see getting the trophy eventually there now that Florida's out? Scott, do you have a thought? I know you do, Rob. Give me your take. And I'm going to go with Duke. Everybody hates Duke. That's what I'm going to go with.
You stole my team there. I'm an anti-Duke too, but I just kind of like where they're playing right now, the way they're playing. They just have a little something going on. Boozers, man, those guys are real.
Yeah, they're good
real players. And it's going to be hard to beat them, in my opinion. And we'll
Pretty
see.
Good coach too. I'm impressed with his coaching. I really am. I think he's a good coach.
I agree. It's he's one of the young guys doing a good job there. A little better than Hubert Davis has done.
Well, goodbye, Hubert. All right, Rob, you're tired of brimming on it.
I'm going to say this: don't get mad at your money. That's a stock market term. I'm going with Duke too. I don't like them. I mean, I wanted Florida to win. I did. Last year I picked them to beat Houston. It happened, but they'll be back as long as you got Todd Golden. But that's who I'm going to pick. And John Shire is an excellent coach. Excellent coach.
Well, guys, we're counting down now. We're going to have spring football going the 11th. And we're told by the coach here is going to be blocking and tackling. It's not going to be one of these little flag football deals. And so I love that about him. Now, if we just get him to bring back the cheer Gator bait, I'll be very happy. Yep. So thanks a lot, Rob.
He probably would if it was up to Summerall.
Summerall's already said he remembers it.
It's a great cheer.
In his first press conference, he talked about it, saying he remembers going to the game and hearing those guys scream Gator bait, and it's really rotten why they took it away, because it was based on nothing factual. Story for another time, guys. Thank you, Scott. Wait a minute, hold it, Scott Carter. Thank you, Scott. We're gonna roll this on. Yeah, it's Rob. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Honored, man. Love it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, guys. It's always good to have those two on. They're full of information and good stuff. Don't forget Rob's show, SEC Sidelines, with producer Brendan Martin every morning. It's a good show. He gets a lot of good guests on, so check him out. Just want to say again, thank you to our main sponsor tonight, which is Melville Law, and they have been with us a long time, supporting us, and we do appreciate all that Freddie Weeby does at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill for us as well. We'll let you know the status of a few other things here soon. We certainly want you to know we want you to frequent our sponsors because they are great people. And they also make the world go around. It's hard to find money these days. Everybody's got their hand out, right? Because, we know what college football and college sports has become. So anyway, that's what it's all about. And thanks to our great guest tonight. And thanks to all of our sponsors. By the way, Titan MRI Imaging also, they offer a great opportunity for you. If you care about customer service, they got it. They can get you an appointment. If you can't come in the afternoon, you can come at night. They accept insurance. You can go through the convenient self-pay program. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasound, easy scheduling with lots of options. And they have those larger MRI machines if you need that patient comfort. So check them out. It's coming soon, hopefully, to Marion County. Titan MRI and Imaging. It's your choice. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Now, tomorrow night, we'll be back with Ben Troop. We haven't heard from Ben in a long time. Got to do that soon. Ben's tremendous, does that 84 Reasons podcast, and he's been with us a long time, and we've appreciated that. So we will say we'll wrap this thing up, and let's see if we got our music up to play it, and we'll say good night to you, and thanks for listening, and thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow night. I'm Buddy Martin. Good night.